Well, good afternoon. I'm Rick Dancer. Welcome to Get Real with Rick Dancer, and we're glad to have you along. We're going to take you on a little trip today. Yeah, the first trip is going to involve cannabis. So that's my first trip, a little topic. And then in a couple minutes, we're going to take you all the way over to Baker City, Oregon, where a young man from my mother's hometown of Haines, Oregon, has come up with a really cool idea to help people in rural Oregon and art centers. And he'll explain that. We'll bring him on in just a second to talk about it. But as many of you guys know, I broke my wrist in a bike accident. And that's the scar right there. And it's been giving me hell. And it's been really hurting. So about 6 months ago, I got some CBD. And some of it is CBD, some of it's CBD with also THC. That's at home. The good stuff's at home. This is the non-THC stuff. And so I started taking this and putting it on my wrist because I just thought, God, I have it. I paid $80 for this stuff. And I wonder if this will work. And guess what? It does. I am finding that it's taking the pain out of it. And then I had a lady who's an expert come on my Instagram page just 20 minutes ago. And she told me that it does go through your system and it does help with the pain. And the THC also helps even more with the pain. But you can't get high through putting it on your skin. Now, the other thing she did warn me about is that if you are a police officer or somebody who gets tested regularly, this is not something you want to do because it will show up on your drug test. Hi, Kristen. How are you? Or Christine, how are you? Hey, Dana, how are you? I can't stay long. Have to go teach at Elements. Well, there you go. So anyway, the CBD is working. I'm kind of excited about it because it hurts. It really hurts. And now let me take you somewhere. This is Baker City, Oregon. And I'm going to introduce you to a young man named Dan Sizer. There he is. Hey, Dan.
Hello, hello.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you, Rick?
I'm good. So tell people how you and I met.
Well, we met, last summer, walking around the streets. I was giving you like a downtown walking tour with my other business, which is a tour company in Baker City. And then I was also playing music, and I think you filmed some of that. So yeah,
you were all over our show.
Yeah.
If you're not on here, it's not on our PNW. We do a PNW backstory show. And Timothy, the guy in Baker County, who's the man, the tourism man, he set me up with Dan. And Dan's a really good musician. You're how old?
I'm 27.
Yeah, so he's 27 years old, committed to rural Oregon, and which is really great for a 27-year-old kid, I think. And you're a kid to me because I got kids older than you. But Dan emailed me the other day, and he's like, hey, I got this new project going on. Do you think you'd help me promote it? And I'm going, I am all about helping rural Oregon get promoted. So Dan, tell him what it is that you're doing.
Yeah, I started something called Traveler with a Y, traveler.com. And what is an immersive live stream art experience platform. And so what we do, the idea came about when COVID hit and our art centers here were sort of financially impacted. Membership went down, or people weren't able to interact with our art centers. And so Traveler connects rural art centers, rural artists within people in a live streamed online lesson. And it gives people the opportunity to donate then to the Rural Arts Center.
So why is this so important? When does it start? When's the first one?
So our first one's this Sunday, actually, June 14th at 3 p.m. And people can tune in. There's going to be a YouTube link. You've got the website scrolling down below. So traveler.com, and then look for our upcoming sessions. But yeah, you'll be able to follow along. And Megan McGinnis is a local artist here in Eastern Oregon. She'll be doing an acrylic paint, actually out at my folks' house. And you'll be able to follow along. We'll talk about what's going on. And then you can help these rural art centers stay alive. Like $3, or you can just do it for free and enjoy the art lesson.
So Dan, why do you do that? Why do you care?
I was sitting around in my home quarantined and heard this about the art centers. And I'm a musician. I'm an art lover. And I didn't want to see our art centers go out of business. That's pretty much it. Like, I just thought like, hey, this is something that needs to stay alive. And I had a little bit of tech background. And so I thought, why don't we, live stream some art experiences? And art's important, I think, now more than ever.
So what do you, why is, and I just excuse me, but this is what I do. You know me, I already talked to you. So Dan and I just find out that he's from Haines, Oregon, and that's where my mom was born too. And there's not a lot of people from Haines.
300.
So yeah, exactly. Julie says, that's cool. My husband's a retired psychologist. That is an artist. Nice. Dana says that's really cool. So how are people in Baker County handling all this COVID stuff and what's going on?
Well, that's sort of a loaded question. Yeah, it's a little tough. I mean, yeah, it's like there's an interesting dynamic here because we are a rural county where there's not that many cases. But people generally, I'm pretty optimistic with how people are handling it. You know, people have been being pretty safe for the most part, safer than I expected folks to be. So I've been impressed with our reaction to it.
Is it harder when you live in a rural place where you think this, you know, because there's already kind of sometimes, you know, the feeling that the big metro areas run everything. Mm-hmm. And now you're out here and you're being quarantined like the people in the metro areas where all the sickness is showing up, you know, and that's probably hard to swallow for some people.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a real sentiment out here that exists. And I think the silver lining is that people, you know, despite that have been cautious. I think now that we're entering these like phase 1 and phase 2, people are venturing out and that we probably have been a little more lax than folks on the other side of the state. I think, yeah, it's a little less of a issue over here, but it's an issue everywhere. So,
so 27, you went to Portland and you go to school or something?
Yeah, I went to Lewis and Clark in Portland, went abroad for quite a while, did a bunch of different things. And now I'm back in Baker City.
So what is it about Baker City that attracts a younger crowd of people like yourself? You're coming back. I mean, they are coming back to town.
Yeah, I mean, I think partly it is the community here, and you know, I did the city thing, and I don't. It's like you come home. There's no traffic here. I know I started an outdoor tour company. There's easy access to the outdoors. I don't see other people on trails. I don't like to tell people that because, you know, then we start seeing people on trails. But yeah, I mean, that's an interesting question. I do get a little cabin fever staying in Eastern Oregon. And so I like to get out to the city and, you know, travel and do other things. So I'm not here all year round. But I do, and I'm glad I'm back.
And and I think what people don't understand is there's a really good music scene there and also in Union County. There's a really cool venue that I went to where they have some nighttime place where when COVID is over, I'm sure we'll be operating again. But then you've got Barley Brown and Tyler and them came back. A lot of people come in a winery. Cooper, is it Cooper?
Copperbelt. Yeah, Travis. He's a young person came back. The Petersons, the Pocket Gallery. There's a bunch of us.
Yeah, and then there's the cheese expert.
Barry, Travis's sister.
So there's a whole bunch of things going on in places like Baker and rural Oregon that I think we don't really think of as where that is attractive to young people. And you're not driving 30 miles and for 2 hours in traffic. You don't plan your day around rush hour, which in Portland now is 2 to 8 o'clock.
I know. And I think that's a good point. I think I think young people like me are realizing there's some value in slowing down and, having time to concentrate on maybe things that we didn't know were important, but that are really important.
So again, tell people one more time what this is, what Traveler.
Yep. Yeah. So Traveler is this platform I started to live stream art lessons with local rural artists in support of rural art centers that were affected by COVID. So you find us on the internet. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. Traveler.com with a Y. And you can tune in. Our first one here is June 14th, this Sunday at 3 p.m. Get your acrylic paints. A palette, which can just be cardboard and a piece of wax paper, a thick piece of paper to paint on, and you can follow along with the lesson and learn about rural art, rural Oregon, and what we're doing out here. And if you want to give a few bucks to support us, that's super cool.
So what time does it start? Julie wants to know what time it starts.
Yeah, so 3 p.m. Sunday, Pacific time, this Sunday.
All right. Tyler, thank you, man. Dan, I'm thinking Traveler. Dan, thank you for putting together Traveler and doing that. And we appreciate it. And I think I'm I'm pretty sure we're coming back in September. I think that's the plan right now. So
great.
We'll undoubtedly end up doing something with you.
Yeah, we'll cross paths, I'm sure.
All right. Thanks, buddy.
Cool. Thank you.
See you later.
Yep. See ya.
All right, bud. So how's that for cool? So, rural Oregon, young man, born and raised there, trying to save art and education and stuff right there in his own community. So he's innovative and comes up with a plan. And that's the thing I think you guys maybe that my wife and I find about rural Oregon that's so impressive is everywhere we go, people in rural Oregon live tougher lives, and you have to work 2 or 3 jobs. You've got to be creative. You have to be innovative to come up with different ways to make a living. And there's hardly people that have just one job there. And he owns another company where he takes people out and on recreational experiences. And then he has another company that he takes people downtown and he'll do a tour of Baker City and show you kind of what's going on with it. So he's 27 and he's figured that out. So I think the rest of us, COVID, that's one of the gifts. There's not a lot of gifts I can find with COVID, but one of the gifts I think is that all of us are being forced to get out of our comfort zone, get out of our box, and try to find something innovative so that we can kind of bridge the gap and move on to this place. So when Dan wanted to come on, I was like, oh my God, that's a great idea. And so it's Sunday and you can tune in at 3:00. And the nice thing is too, hey, Joshua, how are you doing, man? What's up? We're just living a dream. Living the dream here in Eugene, Oregon. So so give Dan and his group a little love and show up, like he said, have some acrylic paints and do your thing. Have to work harder to stay in the country. Deborah Mayberry. It's Deborah. We just talked to Deborah over on our Instagram show. She says, just talking about this today, having to work harder to stay in the country, not for sissies. Living in the country is not for sissies. So that is for sure. But I think when Kathy and I went to Paisley, Oregon, we were in Lake County. Josh, you need to bring your own paint and your own palette and all the other stuff that goes with it. And that's the website right there below, right there, that's scrolling by. That's how you find them. travelerwithany.com, and it'll tell you all the things you need to do. But Deborah, we were talking about that, my wife and I. We went to Paisley, Oregon in Lake County, and here's a school 20 years ago. They were losing students, and they had to come up with a way to save the school. So they chartered it. And now they have 13 or 14 students from all over the world that come each year to go to school there. They also have over 140 kids online up and down the I-5 corridor going to school there, helping to pay for the budget so they can keep their school going in little old Paisley, Oregon. And I said to the teacher, the head teacher, and I said, how come people don't know about this? And she goes, because we're just so wonderful. Have you been through Long Creek? Lynn, no. Where's Long Creek? I have not been to Long Creek. You'll have to tell me more. I know, Deborah. Isn't that awesome? And Deborah lives in Southern Oregon. She's from Eugene, or been in Eugene, and now lives in Southern Oregon. So, that's what we try to do with our PNW Backstory series. That's not what we try to do. That is what we do, is go into rural Oregon and tell the stories. In fact, we're going to be in Redmond, Oregon at a really cool vineyard and all that the second week of July. And we'll be showing off Redmond and kind of some things going on there. And then we've got a trip planned. You're in the Applegate. Love the Applegate. And then we've got a trip planned for Pendleton and beyond. And we're still putting that one together for the last week of July. And we'll be going in August to some other places. And we're going to Baker County, I think, in the fall, down in September. So that's what we do on our other station. If you guys want to know where that is, just go to pnw.com. You're in Louisiana, native Oregonian. We are a rural community outside of New Orleans. I would love Dawn to come to New Orleans. I think that would be so cool. I'm going to put my PNW backstories.com. That's the website. Go on there and like it, because we'll be putting out a newsletter and we'll let you guys know how you can. Every time we're going to go do a show or go do a series somewhere, we'll be letting people know. So what else is going on out there? Let's see, out in the John Day, 40 miles north. Lynn, you live out of John Day. Hey, Lynn, we would love to go to Prairie City and some of those little towns out there by John Day. I'm going to put my email on here. I need contacts, rick@rickdancer.com. That's my email. And send me an email or write it down and send me one later. I would love to get some stuff going. New Orleans is amazing. Come on down. Oh, I would love to. You're on my list. Problem with New Orleans, tell me if I'm wrong, Deborah or Dawn, is the timing of year to go. You really have to kind of go at the right time because, God, it could be really, really hot and really sultry and humid. And here in Oregon, we don't have humidity, so we're big babies. No use to. Lynn, what is that? I think you had a spell check error. I'm not sure what you're saying. Try again. I'll put you up there again. Just try again. See what you get. So I was talking with people over on the other page in Instagram. And do you feel like the world's kind of gone just nuts? Washington, Northeast. Hello from Washington, Northeast England. What's that, Diane? Where's that? Northeast New England? Is there a town in Washington state called Northeast New England? It's hot and humid September through May. It's pretty good. September through May is pretty good. Okay, I'll keep that in mind. But do you guys feel like the world's gone crazy, just nuts? And you kind of have to just keep your head about you to figure out what you're going to do and how you're going to keep going. That's what my wife and I were discussing just last night is like, you really have to kind of, I feel like I'm in a stream, a river, and the current's going one direction and I'm swimming against it. And I'm okay with that because I've kind of spent my life doing that. So it doesn't bother me. But this seems unusually toxic right now, where it feels like you really can't say too much. Because you could get yourself in a lot of trouble. The YK. So you're in the UK. Okay, I gotcha. I used to live in Long Creek, population 200. That's a big town. I want to know what next for us this year. I want to know what's next to come. I know, isn't it crazy? It's like, you kind of wonder what's going to happen. Washington is a town in England. Oh, thank you, Matt. You are such a world traveler. I'm in the UK. I know, Diane. I'm figuring you out. I'm getting you. Hard times for the most level-headed of folks. Yeah. And it's a very dangerous time if you're a critical thinker. If you're a critical thinker and you have a mouth. So you guys may have missed, Deborah was talking to us earlier about cannabis. And this is cannabis oil, this is CBD. And I am taking this, and what I'm doing is I'm putting it on my body because I got a broken wrist and it hurts in here and the muscles hurt. So I am putting this on, rubbing it in, and it is feeling better. Now at night, I use the one with the THC in it. And I learned a whole bunch of stuff from Deborah, about this, which I completely appreciate her help. Hi, Lisa. Thanks for getting real with Jimmy this week. Love that kid. Yeah, I do too. He was awesome, wasn't he? You see, are those drugs? Actually, it's not. It's CBD. So I don't think CBD is a drug. I don't consider CBD a drug. Lisa, yeah, I think Jimmy gives you hope, doesn't he? And we've had some really great interactions, and it's all just kind of happenstance. And none of these were planned. Today, Deborah came on, and it wasn't really planned. And that's the way they usually work out the best. No overdose possible via the skin. So you can put it on, and it's not going to do. CBD is medicine. I 100% agree. And it's legal because we live in Oregon, and everything's legal in Oregon. Well, hello, Terry Hunt. I used CBD oil for my shoulder after I dislocated it. It was great. Okay. Good medicine. Yeah. And it's kind of hard to know what to do and what not to do, which is why I really like that Deborah came on and kind of explained it. She's a nurse and she's had to deal with it. And those are the kind of people with experience that I want to deal with, you know. It's legal. So Belinda, where do you live? Do you live in a state where it's not legal? I'm just curious. Jacob, man, moved from Ohio to Eugene. Still blows my mind walking into dispensaries or CBD stores and shopping like I'm at the supermarket. Yeah, I bet that does, especially coming from Ohio. Where are you about in Ohio? My wife's from North Canton. Where are you from, Jacob? Karen Mitchell is pro CBD. How many drops do you use? I just pour it on there. You can't overdose on your skin. That's what Deborah told me. So I'm just putting it on, and it's just relieving some of the pain. And yeah, it's working really well. I live in Eugene. Oh, okay, Melinda. So you know, Jacob, I'm still interested to find out where you're from in Ohio. You got any advice for a broken heart besides drinking the pain away? That is interesting. Some of the comments you guys make on here are just kind of interesting. Youngstown. Oh, Youngstown, Ohio, Northeast Ohio. Went to college in Worcester, though, a little closer to Canton. Yeah, I know where those are. Pro gummy here. Dennis Lang is pro gummy. He uses. Oh, he takes his CBD through a gummy. It's because you're childish. Real men use oil. Being a true cannabis patient makes traveling difficult. Oh, yeah, I bet. Especially when other places aren't like that. You're welcome, Melinda. 5 times 2 day. I'm Karen. I'm going to be really honest with you. I don't know quite what that means, but it's because I'm not the most. I'm learning. Do you like a certain brand of CBD? Deborah, do you have a certain brand? I got mine at TJ's in Eugene just because they're really good people, and they have a project where they kind of help people, and I like that too. Karen is from Dorena, Oregon. My train ride had days where I had to go without, yet no one goes without their prescribed meds. I never even thought about that. Yeah, so if you go on and you got Percocet and all that shit, you can take it on a train, but you have marijuana, you can't when you're not outside of a state that doesn't have that. I'm from Grove City, Ohio. North Canton beat us in quarterfinals of high school boys basketball way back in 1964. Terry, that's awesome. I have been to Ohio. I like it. It's a beautiful state. Deborah makes her own. ACDC is great high CBD strain. Oh, really? ACDC? Weren't they a band? I know. My 80-year-old parents are sharing my gummy every evening and sleeping like babies. Love the generosity of TJ's. Exactly. I like TJ's because of what they do. Grove City was my go-to shop in growing up in the outlet mall. You guys are crazy. All these Ohioans. How did you Ohioans find us? I grow my own as well. Josh, I know it medical, but my work dose does not like us to use that kind of medicine. Yeah, that's the problem. And she said, one thing, Josh, that Deborah did tell me is if you are putting it on your skin, it can show up in your system. And Lisa says Deborah knows her shit. You might want to hold back just a little. I moved to Eugene. I'm from Eugene. I moved from Eugene to Ohio. How do you like it? Better, or do you like it here better? 5 drops twice a day under tongue for purity. Hemp works rocks. Okay. You guys, there's a lot of people turn into medicinal marijuana and stuff like that. Debbie's laughing. Deborah's laughing. I want to keep calling you Deborah, and I'm sorry. If any of you want to come on here and talk about this live, I can send you an invitation. I've never done this while I'm doing it, but I'm willing to try if somebody wants to do that. I'd like more information on TJ's. They're located right downtown Eugene, right across from, oh God, What is wrong with me? The theater. What is that theater? It's right across from, oh my God, Rick, the McDonald Theater. And they have a program where they give cannabis to children, medical cannabis to children who need it, to their parents for the kids that need it if they can't afford it. I miss Oregon, but it's nice here. Yeah. Ohio is a very nice place. Deborah, do you want to go live? I'll put you on here, but I need your email. If you want to. I know you were out working and you may not feel like you want to, but the people would love to talk with you here. Yeah, there's the McDonald. Thank you. If she's willing. McDonald's. Yeah, you guys are all getting me now. I give mine away. Later, Rick, I'll have to go watch the beginning of this. Okay. All right. Okay. So Deborah, I need your email address. It doesn't matter if you're going to type it in there anyway, because people will know, right? But if you can give me your email address, then I'm going to send you. Oh, there we go. Okay. Now let's try this, guys. This is going to be an experiment. We're all working together. Ah, shoot. Now I got to go. Let me get back here. Okay. Let me copy it. Hang on. God, how do I? MS. Hold on. I should have had this already, but I didn't even think about it at Gmail. Okay, so let me try this. I'm going to try inviting Deborah. And it's, here we go. MS Ladybug work at gmail.com. Okay, so. All right, so Deborah, what that's going to do is send you an invite, and you're just going to follow the directions. Make sure that you have your phone, your microphone on, and your camera on, and it's going to pop up, and then I'm going to be able to put you right up here on the screen with us to talk. And we're going to go back to Jacob. Rick, I was born in California, raised in Ohio, moved back to California, met a buddy who was from Eugene. I visited and was hooked. People are amazing, and Oregon is beautiful. Oregon is a beautiful state. It really is. So Deborah, we're going to see if this works. And hopefully it will. There's her number for people if you do want to get a hold of someone and who seems to be very oh, there she is. God, this is so awesome. There you are.
Hey.
Hey, Deborah. My wife's going to start talking now.
Your wife. Twice in a day. So, we have met once a long time ago.
Where did we meet?
We met in the offices of Wanda Fisher and Rita Klesch in 1994, sitting across from each other.
Oh my gosh, I was in counseling at that time.
Me too. That you were on here about a week ago talking. I think it was with, what was that man you were talking with? It was such a great conversation. The black man.
Chad Brown.
Yeah. And you were talking about your father and I was the one who said I knew your spirit when I felt it in the room. Okay. So people are obviously very interested in this medical marijuana business, and it's changed your world, right? Yes, it has.
Because you are out walking in your yard, and you were bedridden before on medications and all kinds of stuff.
Or on a cane. Yeah, I was either in bed about 21 hours a day, or I was on a cane.
Wow.
And
how did you find marijuana? How'd you find Mary Jane?
I'm in Applegate.
It found you.
You can't live in Applegate, Oregon, not find out about cannabis.
You guys, if you're not from Oregon or you don't know, the Applegate is down in southern Oregon near Jacksonville, Medford, but west of Medford and all that. And it's just wine country and beautiful, and people kind of do what they want to do.
Yep. State of Jefferson folks down here.
Yeah. They're kind of radical down there. So
they're good people. They're good people.
and friendly and kind. And so in terms of the marijuana, so you found this and it's really helped you to just kind of get, I have a Stacy right on here right now, Stacy Jordan. And her son has some difficulties. I've known him for years. And I'm guessing that she's talking right now. You know that it saved Mark's life, Rick Dancer, and you share that. You can share that anytime. So her son, Mark, has seizures like over and over and over and over and over and over. I mean, debilitating. And she's done this, and she'll come on and pipe on, but it's changed his life.
Well, of course it has. You know? If you've been going through that and then you get some relief from that, even if it's that much relief, and you're not getting all the side effects of the medications. I mean, the worst side effects typically with cannabis are a dry mouth, dry red eyes, and for some people, some anxiety and paranoia, depending on the strain. But nothing like what we see with medications. And then you have combined medications that really haven't been well tested for long durations.
Right.
So having this, wow, I can understand he feels better.
Well, here she just wrote in here, he was having 75 plus seizures per hour.
Oh my God.
Per hour.
Status epilepticus.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's changed his world.
Yep.
So are you, and I don't use this term in a derogatory way at all. I see it as a positive, but are you kind of a crusader?
Yeah. I have a dream for an alternative 100-acre Serenity Sanctuary Healing Center using alternative medications. Yes, sir.
So what would it look like? Like, what would we do?
Well, it would be a combination. It would be a combination of things. There would be a farm that people who had become much healthier stay on as mentors and peers and teach farming skills, because we would grow our own medicine, we would grow our own food, we would raise our own chickens and stuff like that. But you would come in when you're sick, like myself. There was no place for me when I was coming off medications. There was no place except to go into a psych ward where all they wanted to do was put me on more meds.
Right. And that's what I'm trying to get away from here.
Right. I had got off everything but one medication, and it was so horrifying. The things I went through, I ended up back in and then on 3 new medications that I had to then spend 18 more months coming off of those, because truly my doctor and my therapist now, they're like, you should have never been on all those meds. But yet, because of all kinds of things, you get stuck. But there's no place. There was a woman that I met from Medford, Marissa Parker, and she was a 25-year-old girl, and she was coming off medications just like me, and we met, and we were in a lot of Facebook groups together. She committed suicide 2 years after being off her meds, not because of a mental health issue per se, because of what the medications do to you, and then trying to get your own mind back. I've been off everything for over 2 years. I've been off the hardest things probably almost 4 years. And I'm just now, it's like, people have been telling me, start a business. Well, staying focused, things that I like reading. I didn't drive for 2.5 years, So cannabis has given me gave me back some hope, actually, because I was pretty hopeless.
And you guys, and Deborah is a registered nurse. Worked in hospitals and all that stuff. And, Stacy wrote on here, I wanted to leave this up because a lot of people were asking about TJs, and the Forest Initiative is created by TJs here in Eugene. And the initiative is named after, I can't remember, I should know more because I've done this before. But basically this is some of the money from TJs goes to this initiative, and then children like Mark, young men like Mark, that families can't afford the cannabis, it gives it to them. So it's an initiative that provides that for people who don't have the money to afford that. So that's why I'm leaving it up there, because I think and and a big huge kudo to them, because that's a really great thing to do for people. Because I know I did a story with a young lady, a little girl, and that's the only thing that keeping her alive, and her mom had to escape from Arizona, come to Oregon, and then she was still kind of hiding in Cresswell to get away from it. Look at you now. You're living a full life, Deborah. So happy for you. That's from Stacy, Mark's mother.
Thank you, Stacy. Yes, my life is much better. I'm literally sitting out here. Last year I had a little, about 25 by 20 foot little garden out here. And this year I have 750 square feet of garden area I'm gardening.
Well, welcome back to life.
I was supposed to be traveling. I live in an RV, and I was supposed to be traveling in Mexico and all over the United States, meeting people that I've met online. But then COVID happened and I had to come home. And it's like, well, if I'm going to be home, I'm going to make it worthwhile. I'm going to grow food for people.
So just if you don't mind, I think it's really important to put some context on here, because there's part of the reason you did this was, one, for your own health, because it was driving you nuts. But two, can you tell us a little bit more about your son? Because I think let's honor him a little bit. And I think that would be really a great thing to do, if you're okay with that.
Yep. My son, Brendan Montgomery McKenna, died of a heroin overdose last year on Mother's Day, 2019. And I was the first person to ever give him a medication. And he said, "Mom, you were the first person to drug me." He had diagnosis as a child of ADHD and other things. And so at that time, that was the best route. And he felt that was a big part of what led him to medications, because he came to where he'd run away and was getting involved with bad things. And we did all kinds of things, and he'd go through periods of time where he'd do really good, and he would do better when he could be in a state where he could use cannabis. But he was in Florida, had been there for 5 years, had a job, had a place to live. He was a very functional addict. He'd have a few troubles, but he was doing so much better than he had been. And it wasn't an overdose of heroin. It's that he was killed by fentanyl, because that's what kills the heroin addicts these days. Heroin addicts, if they're getting heroin, they know their dose. They know their dose so that they don't die. But when you have fentanyl in it, it changes the whole picture. So if he would have, I talked to him many times, if he could have been to where I could have got oil to him, the oil that I make, full extract cannabis oil, I really think that he'd still be here. And that's why I want to open my 100-acre Serenity Sanctuary someday.
So what are you going to name it?
100-acre Serenity Sanctuary.
And are you going to have a Brandon garden or something?
Have what?
A Brandon garden?
I haven't thought that far. I need to really start connecting with some people to create, to help process this vision. I mean, I have some really great ideas of how it starts out, like when you go into a treatment facility and you go in and you go detox and you get that support, but then you move out and you have to learn some life skills and some skills to take over for your maladaptive coping mechanisms that aren't working for you anymore. Right. And then you have to learn how, addicts, they miss out on how to do just basic things like how to manage their time, or how to maintain their vehicle, or how to fix a broken pipe underneath their sink. And so skill building, not just as far as cognitive behavior therapy and acceptance and commitment therapy and those kind of things, but also just some skills. And I'm looking at it being like a 2-year program where you start in groups, but after you've been there maybe a year and you reach some goals and personal benchmarks, then you move into a tiny house that's at the edge of at the edge of the property, and you have some independent living, but you're still part of the community as a teacher and as still a learner, because we're all learners in life forever.
So do you think now that you have clarity, this is like that you have that hope?
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Look how
I was hopeless. I wanted to die a lot of times going through this process. And I am hopeful, even with everything that's going on in our world. It is a hard time right now.
It is so hard.
And I'm a really sensitive person, and it's hard, but it's like I'm still hopeful because I think people are good. I just think people are good. I think they get hurt.
Yeah.
I think they have trauma. They have community. They don't feel heard, which you talked about the other day.
Yeah, we don't. I think we have a culture of voicelessness, and what kind of scares me a little bit, Deborah, about what's going on currently is we are giving voice to more people, and that's awesome. But I think we're also some people are also being quieted, and I hate that. It bothers me. I want the conversation to go, because we all have to be kind of part of this whole, how does COVID come back? If it comes back, what are we going to do? I want to be part of that.
Right. I agree. And living down here, people down here have all different viewpoints.
Yeah.
All different viewpoints. Very, very eclectic group of people around here. And so, I mean, like, I myself even had a moment of being targeted, because when I go out in public, because of my health issues, I wear a mask. I go out more and more, but I still wear a mask just for my own protection. It's just, and for other people, it's just my choice.
Right.
But I got harassed in a parking lot getting out of my car. I was just like, "You're judging me? Oh my God. I just have a mask on." And it's really, I have to say, it's really opened my eyes to how we do that with people. You see something, someone gives you license to judge everything about them.
Right. And you were on here the other day when I was talking, my wife and I were talking about this the other day, is why do we feel the need to correct people? You know what I mean? Even on something like people have to give it's like, well, Rick, you said that wrong, or something. Instead, just saying, oh, actually, the way you say that is this. But we always feel like and I feel like that's what, it's almost given license to people going, because you have a mask on, you're good or you're bad, or because you don't, you're good or you're bad. And it's like, I want to say, it's none of your fucking business.
That's kind of what I did. I went into where I was shopping, and I came back out. I was buying soil for my garden, actually. And I just looked he started to speak at me, and I said, "No, just stop." I said, "You had no right to do that. You don't know me. You've never met me. You don't know my health. You don't know the people I interact with. You don't know where I come and go. You had no right, just because you saw something, to say something." I said, "You are part of the problem when you do that. You do know that, right?" I said, "We're done. Goodbye."
That's awesome.
Because it's seriously, mind your own business. You do you and I do me. And I'm like you, don't tell me what to do. But if I'm insensitive or harsh, say, maybe I would like to be spoke to this way. Or if you have a belief on something that's different than mine, well, I believe this because.
Right.
But I grew up with a grandfather that came over in 1901 from Ireland, and he taught me how to debate with the register guard paper at the age of 10, sitting at the table. He'd open it up, and he'd go on the opinions page, and he'd go, "What do you want to talk about today?" And I'd look, and I'd go, "Oh, Bigfoot, And he'd go, "All right." He goes, "What side do you want? Because I don't care. Let's just talk about it."
That's awesome.
And that's how I learned about how to actually have conversations with people.
Well, see, now that you're talking about this is kind of interesting, because you're giving me a counseling session, because one of the things that my dad and I didn't see eye to eye on a lot of things, but one of the things that he did, and I'm seeing this from you today, right now, one of the things he gave me was he was a negotiator. So when he'd sit at the dinner table it was always a negotiation. And he'd talk about going into these school board meetings, fighting for teachers. But when they left, the school board and him would go out to dinner together, and they were friends. It wasn't like your enemies at the table. Well, that doesn't happen anymore at all. So I think I learned that from him, where it's like, even when I have very deep-seated beliefs in what I believe, but when I'm doing this stuff or when I'm talking with people, I don't care. I'm not married to it. I'm not trying to be right. My whole goal is to give people a voice. So I don't have to get into that. And I wish more of us would kind of just stand back and say, maybe it's okay to swim upstream, even though the river's going the other direction. Because everybody wasn't meant to swim with the river. There's some of us that are supposed to go the other direction. And
I
that's
swim upstream in the Willamette all the time.
But Deborah, I am so glad. Thank you so much for coming on here and doing this today.
Thanks for having me, Rick. It's been a real pleasure, and I do love watching you. You're diverse. Sometimes I agree, sometimes I don't.
Never agree with you all the time.
It's always respectful.
Well, good.
It's always respectful, and I appreciate that. So thank you.
I want to keep it that way, and I hope that through this and sharing this, and everybody you share this, that maybe this will help. It gave you a voice. Maybe we'll help you get this thing started, or people will go, because already people are coming on going, that's a great idea. So we'll see what happens, and you'll have to keep us in touch, because I know you'll be here.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
All right. We'll see you later.
All right. Have a great afternoon. Bye-bye.
Bye, hon. So, or you show us another side to make us think. Well, that's what we hope, right? Yeah, I had an interesting conversation. I have a business coach, and I'll leave it with this. She told me to ask, some of you guys already know this, but she told me to ask some people what it is that I do really, really well. Because I think sometimes we don't focus on what we do really, really well. We just focus on the things that don't go well. And 5 of my friends, the people that are business people or people I work with, and they all said this, is that you emotionally connect with people in a way that most people don't. And I'll tell you, just knowing that has changed everything for me. It makes me more, I think we need to listen more to people. Doesn't mean you have to agree with them, but I think if we start listening more, maybe we'll start hearing something in our heart and our soul. Because I think we're listening to people's words, we're listening to their pain, we're listening to their brains. And what I think we need to do is spend a little bit more time listening to their soul. Because there's a lot of souls that are really hurting right now, and they're silenced. And I'm not going to let that happen. So that was Deborah's soul. I hope it touched you. I hope it gave you something to think about. I hope it gave you the ability to dream. God, when was the last time you dreamed? Maybe we need to start dreaming about what can be instead of fretting over what isn't. I don't know. Thank you, Jessica. I appreciate that. All right, you guys go have a nice evening. Enjoy the people you're around. Never ends it with perfect words. Everything changes. We can't go back. Everything changes. We can't go back. Good night.